Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation to come today and for your time. I know it's probably been a very, very long day for most of us. So I made myself a promise that I would be as short as possible and not make you read a lot of stuff. So what we're going to do is walk through some forest management that's going on in bioenergy and some opportunities that might be of interest that we can cross over and work on together. What we have here is a map that shows where all the proportionate of land that's forested in the United States. Take key note, it's not in Iowa. So, we kind of grow all of our forests in the Southeast, the Northeast, the Pacific Northwest. So what is woody biomass? Somebody earlier called it wood waste earlier. No, let's not use that word anymore. Because if it's a waste, then it means it's worth nothing to us. This is wood residuals. And they come in various forms. There at the top, you can see we have a bunch of limbs and branches from a logging residue. Bottom right hand, if I'm looking at that right, no, bottom left hand is stumps and larger branches that were not commercial. And then we have purpose-grown wood, which is the bottom right-hand plantation that you see there. Now, there's a couple of issues here that we need to be aware of when it comes to wood residuals. Is just like the corn stover that we saw earlier that was baled up, it was all nice and fluffy. Yeah, this isn't really nice and fluffy stuff. It doesn't come that way. What we're working on with the machines there at the top is to create what we're calling slash logs. And these are basically piles that we will pick up, roll literally into a log using some type of chicken wire material, and then be able to load them on the back of trucks and move them. The wood residuals that you see down that are bigger, those are still going to have to be gone out and collected by equipment that we're still going to need to design. And you can tell right away that presents two issues that I hadn't even thought of too much. That's why I was wondering why I needed to be here today. I look at it from an operational standpoint. How can I build the equipment? But how can I build the equipment safe? And so that's one of the things that I really appreciate here today. The other picture with the pine plantation, it's what we call agroforestry, or it's kind of our version of row cropping. We will plant our plantations out there, but you can plant switchgrass in between the middle there. So you can have an annual harvest of switchgrass, and then you can go off and harvest the trees when they're reach the size that you need for your commercial operations. Let me go back one second. There's roughly 75 million acres of forest land in the U.S. It's roughly been the same amount of land for the past 100 years. And the interesting thing about that is it's owned by you and me. There's a misconception out there that the Forest Service or the Department of Interior or the states own the lands. 80% of it's owned by you and me, and it produces, find it again, 1.6 million workers work that land to produce $50 billion of annual income. Now, here's the problem. We need those people out there in the field still. All these X's that you see up here on the map, those were mills, either pulp mills, paper mills, that have closed between 1998 and 2007. The yellow ones are those that have closed over just the last 3 years. So this is really an industry that needs some type of support, and we think that bioenergy, bio-based products, biofuels, or as I like to call it, the bioeconomy, can really fit this need. A lot of our forest stands right now are what we call overpopulated. They're not getting harvested. As you saw by that map there, there's just no markets. So what are we looking at? Well, we're looking at threats to these forests from fires. There have been over 200,000 acres burned just this month alone in the United States. Just from January 1st to today. That's smoke emissions, that's asthma, that's greenhouse gases. It's a waste of an opportunity. Picture with the red and green trees, that's insects, mountain pine beetle in British Columbia. Again, that's standing dead wood there that we can't get out. We can't use it for anything, except for bioeconomy would be perfect for it. In British Columbia, they've lost 43 million acres to a bug about the size of a grain of rice. 43 million acres is about the size of Uruguay. And then, final picture of all the nice houses there is what we call urban sprawl. And I'm guilty of that. I live about an hour south of here, and that's because I don't want to live in the city. But when you have urban sprawl, cities start clearing out, and they start clearing out land, start clearing out forest land, because developers can pay a landowner more for it than the landowner can maintain it for. So when I say bioeconomy, what am I really talking here? Talking about chemicals. The global chemical industry is expected to grow by 6% between now and 2025. Over 20% of that growth can come from biomass and bio-based products. The USDA has what we call the Bio-Preferred Program, and it's a mandate from the administration that, when possible, we need to purchase products that are safe and green and come from biomass. Currently, we have 25,000 products that we're using. The pellets that you see there, a lot of growth in pellets here in the United States. And a lot of that growth is being driven by the European Union, who's moving away from coal and using wood. But let me give you an example here in the States. There's a Fuels for Schools program that we started with the U.S. Forest Service. In Darby, Montana, they were using heating oil to heat their elementary schools. We were able to put in a system that would use wood pellets to heat the entire school. It's saving them $62,000 on annual heating costs. In a school system as small as Darby, Montana, that's a significant amount of money. We're also working on aviation fuels. Now we get to start the reading portion. We're doing all this, but only if we can be sustainable. And when I think sustainable, I think economic sustainability, environmental sustainability, which I've heard a lot about today, with water, air, soil, biodiversity, carbon sequestration, and then social sustainability. Is this something that we want in our backyards? Does our communities feel that this is safe and healthy? Do we have the infrastructure to manage these types of facilities? There are opportunities. The U.S. Forest Service has woody biomass research grants, and they are really looking at the logistics, engineering plans, safety plans of all the equipment and how we can go out and harvest these wood residues. I am on detail as the senior advisor, but the National Institute of Food and Agriculture is my actually home agency. So I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the opportunities there. Our goal at the National Institute is to develop regionally appropriate biofuels and bio-based products centers or programs. So we've been working with schools over the past several years in our grant programs called the Agricultural and Food Research Initiative. And we have what we call a CAP, Coordinated Ag Program. These are managed by 6 different schools. Iowa State is one of them. Jason works on it. Thought Kathy, she works on it. Yeah. But these CAPs bring together not just university research people, but they bring in industry, they bring in equipment manufacturers, they bring in landowners. And so we're really building a large conglomerate, a large alliance to help support these sustainable, regional sustainable biofuel systems. And now that I've been looking at it, we should have been pulling in people here from the Institute of Medicine, because the first year we did this, we had 5 CAPs at $145 million total. And I believe it was Section 6 that we looked at. It was entitled Health and Safety. We look at the USDA, we look at developing bio-based products and biofuels all the way across the spectrum, from the very basics where we're working on the genomics and the genetics, through the conversion processing, to getting the biomass, to having markets to sell the biomass to, biofuels to, and then the underlying sustainability of it all. The Biomass Research and Development Initiative, I think this is really great timing that I was up here with Jason after his talk about LCA and LCI. because BIRDie, as we call the Biomass Research and Development Initiative, requires all of our grant recipients to do an LCA or an LCI of some type on the greenhouse gases, on their sustainability of their product. And we're currently working now with the Agricultural Research Services National Ag Library to have an open source U.S. life cycle analysis database. So all this great information that universities are able to be producing, we can host that at the National Ag Library and make it available so that industry can come in and evaluate what you're finding to see if the products that they want to do are correct and right. A couple of other programs, the Critical Agricultural Material Program. This is a program that really looks at, this year it looked at low VOC paints. So it's kind of got some sight and forefront when we're looking at health and opportunities and better living. But really, there's nothing better than the AFRI and the biomass, the BIRDie programs, because we're also working with GBEP, and I don't know if you've heard GBEP, that's the Global Bioenergy Partnership. They've come up with criteria that they ask everybody to look at, and one of them is on the health of the workers, the health of the people that are gathering the biomass. So I'm going to wrap up now, and I appreciate your time, but I'm going to be a little greedy, and this is why I got into energy, okay? And this is really why I've really enjoyed being here today and learning so much about what it is that you do. These are my two little ones. And in 1996, Nobel Prize winner Richard Smalley from Rice University listed his top 10 things that are going to endanger humanity over the next 50 years, okay? Number 10 was population. Democracy was on the list, disease, terrorism and war, the environment, food, water was number 2, and number 1 was energy. So if we can all work together to be able to produce the sustainable energy that we need, hopefully we'll be able to avoid those other 9 items becoming major problems as well. With that, thank you.